the funny walking stick, to pay Mrs. Tweet back for the worm in his spaghetti. Mr. Tweet thought a really clever, nasty trick. One night when the old woman was asleep, he crept out of bed and took her walking stick downstairs to his workshop. There he stuck the tiny round piece of wood, no thicker than a penny, onto the bottom of the stick. This made the stick longer, but the difference was so small. The next morning, Mrs. Tweet didn't notice. The following night, Mr. Twist stuck on another tiny bit of wood. Every night he crept downstairs and added an extra tiny thickness of wood to the end of the walking stick. He did it very neatly so that the extra bit looked like a part of the old stick. Gradually, oh so gradually, Mrs. Tweed's walking stick was getting longer and longer. Now, when something is growing very slowly, it's almost impossible to notice it happening. You yourself, for extremely, are actually growing tall every day that goes by, but you would think it, would you? It's happening so slowly you can't even notice it from one week to the next. It was the same with Mrs. Tweed's walking stick. It was all so slow and gradual that she didn't notice how long it was getting even when it was halfway up to her shoulder. "That stick too long for you," Mr. Twist said to her one day. "Why, so it is," Mrs. Twist said, looking at the stick. "I've had a feeling there was something wrong, but I couldn't, for the life of me, think what it was." "There's something wrong, all right," Mr. Twist said, beginning to enjoy himself. "What can have happened?" Mrs. Twist said, staring at her old walking stick. "It must suddenly have grown longer." "Don't be a fool," Mr. Twist said. "How can a walking stick possibly grow longer? It's made of that wood, isn't it? That wood can't grow." "Then what on earth has happened?" cried Mrs. Tweet. "It's not the stick, it's you," said Mr. Tweet, grinning horribly. "It's you, that getting shorter. I've been noticing it for some time now." "That's not true," cried Mrs. Tweet. "You're shrinking, Reuben," said Mr. Tweet. It's not impossible. It's not possible." "Oh, yes, it jolly well is," said Mr. Tweet. "You're shrinking faster. You're shrinking dangerous fast. Why, you must have shrunk at least a foot in the last few days." "Never," she cried. "Of course you have. Take a look at your stick, you old goat, and see how much you shrink in comparison. You've got to shrink. That's what you've got. You've got a dreaded shrink." Mrs. Tweet began to feel so trembly she had to sit down.